Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is Pixelriffs, our writer is ZloyXP, and from where we're sitting, it looks like the server is rapidly devolving into chaos, just as the whole fanbase has predicted.
Oh, that's just mean.
Not only does the mischievous pile of cadavers increase with every passing week, but now that it has dedicated redstoners in it, the amount of traps per square chunk is escalating rather quickly.
Did I just break into a trap here? So either somebody has already trapped BOO's bed there, or potentially BOO faked a trap under his bed, which would honestly be next level.
So much so that the dead are now accidentally killing their own, as illustrated by Cubfan's brilliant end-platform landmine obliterating not Grian, as the fanbase was expecting, but the already deceased Ijevin, who sadly didn't even have his recording software running. We do get a fun reenactment out of it at least. The tensions rise on the alive side too, as humanity's last hopes are either fully in hiding or putting dragon heads on each other. All the while, any alliance could at any moment be compromised by death or by bribery.
What are you doing here? What do you want?
You summoned me.
Yes.
In these troubled times, it is our sworn duty to get all the machinations out of the way and take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week.
And I would highly suggest not shopping for logs.
Starting with Zedaph, who, in the midst of society crumbling down around him, just wanted to make a minigame. The physics experiments from before unsurprisingly resulted in Zed using the newly invented short-distance item launchers for exercises of skill and reflex. The most current version throws 3 different colours of wool at 3 different hoppers and wants you to catch the ones that are on their way to the wrong place.
Oh, I need to start throwing them back in the hole. Oh, I let so many of them loose. Oh no, catch that.
Hey, we did predict this would lead to a storage system, but we never thought that you would be the auto-sorter.
Okay, let's just let this game finish. That was a terrible first one. That was so difficult.
It is very fitting that Zed made a game of catch, since we know he doesn't know how to throw. At least he was able to throw 2 of his heads at Docm as penance for being lured into having an anvil dropped on him during Demise. And it's not a moment too soon, because the spectres are knocking on Doc's door and they're coming to collect. Before he can pay his debts, Doc racks up one more by accepting a load of glass from Cubfan in exchange for a stack of diamonds and luring somebody into the end portal trap. We all know how that went at this point, but it remains to be seen if Cub can be convinced that Doc had anything to do with it. At least the grim Rendog seems satisfied with Doc using the loophole of killing someone who wasn't participating in Demise. He even gives a couple of hints about where some of the dead team's traps might be.
I'm not sure if I can accept this.
Well, I mean, we had a contract, bro.
Satisfied with both bargains, Doc goes back to corralling the more mundane undead into his raid farm so they can scare the villagers by a scientifically measured amount. After collecting the 2 Zedaph heads, headaffs if you will, Rendog returns to his Reaper duties, which mainly involve TNT trapping stuff people visit frequently. The Hermitville nether portal just got a lot less welcoming, unless your idea of welcoming involves multiple explosions. But Ren realises he's been taking advantage of someone else's hospitality, and that he really should have got permission from JoeHills before moving into the graveyard. So he invites Joe over to sign a contract, and if you don't think it's realistic that they both signed the contract in their own blood, you've obviously never tried to rent a house in this economy.
So I think that, per the commons, you should be allowed to stay here. And if you're killing people here, then that's the tragedy of the commons technically, but...
Hermitcraft is dead.
Yeah, I could see why you might say that.
At least now he can be comfortable asking to use the neighbour's gym. Being a landlord to the recently deceased imbues Joe with a fresh sense of confidence, and he decides it's a good time to get in a round of golf and take a stroll down memory lane. But there are tactics at play here, because in visiting those parts of the server which aren't frequently used anymore, like the motley mess of clay and glass that used to be a nether tunnel to the mesa, Joe is intentionally avoiding the areas his grayscale server mates have trapped. Naturally, the next step is to wade directly into Concorp territory with the same idea. Why would the dead team trap their own bases? And he tries to encourage them to stay in their lane by building a giant traffic cone. Despite Cubfan logging in inside the cone halfway through the process of building it, Joe somehow gets away with this, and he figures at least Scar will be surprised by it next time he visits.
Well, he caught us. He caught us. He found the cone. What we should probably do is just play dead. Maybe he sees us.
Unlike him, Keralis enters the Demise Swamp for a short recon mission, paranoid as all get out. Luckily no one is home, so he lives to tell his idea friends about it.
Yeah, and well, we got a pillar up here for advertisement's sake, and I think it's beautiful. Do you guys like it?
It is.
I love it. Idea Ahara.
Idea. Oh, you know what we should have done? We should have changed Ahara to just ha 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 ha.
Wary of the outside world, for this week, Keralis locks himself up in his Demise sewers, though he makes it fancy and no doubt smell isolated somehow. Really, we expect nothing less from a man whose channel is full to the brim of luxury modern mansion tutorials. In fact, we'll let TFC explain this one.
One common question that has come up lately is, why do you keep working on this bathroom?
Although I'm sure Keralis also wishes he had marble to build with, but TFC is content to plaster the walls with polished diorite. As if that wasn't enough to keep the Demise pranksters away, he also switches out sections of his tree farm for glass to deter people from trapping them, and covers the surface entrance to his vault with 3 layers of lava, only to promptly seal it away for good. And the apocalypse hasn't even happened yet.
After all of that, that's when you find out that's not the way in after all.
Though in the Battle of Man Caves, TFC and Keralis' efforts might not stand up to the one Scar has built under his crypt, mostly because it is very much based around the idea of being swole. Scar's grave is a gym, complete with weights and a protein powder dispenser.
And once you're all done working out, you gotta pop a little protein powder in you, so...
Maintaining that physique demands a healthy diet, so the foxes from last week are employed for a sweet berry farm. They, of course, would rather be sleeping, but a supervisor cow and a manager pig whip them back into a working mood with little effort. While Scar is away lifting, the terraforming duties have been taken over by Azumavoid. He plans a floating island in the swamps of Demise, which will serve as a sizable cornerstone to the future joined base of the Dead Team, which, now that it was mirrored by Cubfan, looks like it's been placed there specifically so his old giant phantom won't burn in the daylight. One thing we didn't get around to mentioning in last week's recap is that the Dead Team is now making bets on who's going to win Demise, just to undermine their own mission and make it all even more confusing. This applies specifically to Cubfan, who sends some incredibly mixed signals. Though doing his best to help Team Alive cross to the other side, to the point of trying to trap both False and B-Dubs live behind their back,
Yep. And so that's what happens when you mess with False, guys. You get blown up by your own name tag's creeper.
Cubfan still bets on the finest mankind has to offer, TFC, and for some reason Mumbo Jumbo, and for some reason Keralis.
Let's see, who else? Quickly! Look into his eyes and nothing but his eyes. Does this look like a man who will demise?
Then, having found the old challenges Azuma left for him and completed a couple,
I'm convinced there are no diamonds left here on Hermitcraft, guys. It's all just an illusion. TFC has been everywhere. TFC has mined a server dry of all diamonds.
he wins just enough totems of Undying to help his favourites win this race. But then just giving it to them would be too easy, so Cub delivers the totems in trapped chests on top of a TNT block. That's not even getting into the plethora of booby traps Cub springs all over the server, ranging from a lava block in the Pigman Farm elevator to a full trap under iTrade's welcome mat, the latter of which, once again, catches iJevin.
Oh my god. Wow, that was almost insanely bad.
It's hard to figure out how his new auto-harvesting netherwart farm fits into this escapade until you realise that he probably ran out of potion supplies after using them all on the portal traps for Tango's base.
Oh, something's afoot!
In the theme of not quite hitting the bullseye, that trap only sets off Tango's suspectacles. Realising that much of the server is now a minefield, he and Impulse form a bomb squad along with chicken-sized bomb drones.
He seems activated. He seems activated now. Yeah.
Yes.
Impulse already had a bit of practice pulling suspicious levers after finding them left all over his base by iJevin, but the only trap that did anything was a trapped chest, and all that did was write the word LOL on his floor.
He's just trying to mess with me, I suppose.
This newly formed team of trap diffusers dismantles explosive shop entrances, trapped nether portals, and lava drops in the nether, and then they dust off their gloves and take a trip to the mall, where they are insta-killed by a lectern.
Turtle Master. Oh, they got lots of stuff over there. Interesting. Okay.
Right. So, you know, safety stuff.
Yeah,
and then they got,
nice.
I mean, they got custom orders over here, which is...
What? No! What?
Alas, the industry professionals did not reach Zoregular Cleo's untrappable base, but Cubfan sure did and promptly trapped it anyway, which is to say that it blew up. The plan was good enough. Cub locked up a diamond-decked-out zombie and an invisible creeper in the glass castle, then left before the creeper ran out of the invisibility effect. Unfortunately for him, Cleo just sniped the zombie from a slow-falling elytra and did blow up the stealth bomber, but not all the way.
The base was a decoy. Really? I don't actually have to beat the other players. I just have to beat my own hubris.
Revealing that the challenge of trapping the untrappable was always meant to be a decoy anyway, Cleo returns to the Island of Torn Trousers to add a festive governor's house just in time for the Thanksgiving that neither she or I celebrate. As we already illustrated, Jevin had much less luck with Cubfan's redstone. The whole reason he was even going to the end was to cheese some wither bosses, as the beacons make for convincing lasers back at the science fidget spinner. One almost expects him to just start using those as light fixtures too, but for now, sea lanterns do just as well at lighting up the perimeter. Having once again flaunted his wealth at the betting basement, Jevin expands his crypt to have a more specific plan of attack, illustrated in the map of the server and a precise hit list, which doesn't really do any good, seeing as how they're meant to kill everybody one way or the other.
You've never killed players have killed you 3 times. That's funny.
Anyway, let me just go quickly check out Grian's hour-long server tour episode. Yep, he built a Patrick house. Dragon time! With a dragon head on each hand, Grian decided to stop being the weirdest Hydra ever and instead put the ones he can still take off to good use. Willing to spread his message of never again being able to wash your hair, Grian tracks down whatever members are online and helmetless at the time. B-Dubs, being the new guy and keen to have tourists visit, doesn't know exactly how malicious the Pooh Bear can be.
That was so much easier than I thought.
Having successfully gotten B-Dubs to undress, why does my job make me say these things? Grian tells him to stare into the barrel of a dispenser and flips this lever for no reason at all.
I got a dragon head! I've never killed a dragon! That was amazing! Maybe this would make for a perfect gargoyle for the castle, but now it's stuck on my head.
B-Dubs takes it surprisingly well, even when he realizes he's a dragon bro for life. Being half dragon doesn't stop him from putting in some work on the interiors of his rapidly expanding castle, which now has a dining room fit for a king. If only the local redstone shop owner would stop climbing on the roof.
You got a big hole in your roof.
Well, yeah, I was gonna fix that. I was planning on fixing that, but it just...
Sure, I'll just sit over there and twiddle my thumbs and watch the stocks of cherry computers go through the roof.
Bringing the new recruit to the architect boardroom for a meeting, Grian and Iskal reaffirm that Mumbo is their next target, and after convincing B-Dubs he doesn't need to wear diamond boots along with his elytra, they swoop off towards Mumbo's base. They have a hard time finding him at first because Mumbo's usual AFK spot had been trapped by Cubfan one time too many. So, thanks to the absurd amount of iron he now has, Mumbo decided to build a much more secure AFK bunker down by the bedrock, complete with a piston door activated using a 9-digit keypad. It takes Grian 2 guesses to figure out the password, so it's a good thing Mumbo doesn't leave his credit cards lying around as well.
Well, you just gotta think like Mumbo Jumbo. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is what's known as a Dragon Bruh moment. So Mumbo does turn up to the next meeting, if only to find out what they're dragging him into. It turns out membership to the Dragon Bros also includes access to the clubhouse, which is also a dragon head with their own heads inside so they can sit on those, I guess? Inside the 15th Demise planning room we've seen so far, they hatch a plan to shove the next sticky dragon hat onto false symmetry just by sneaking up behind her when she's taking a pumpkin head on and off for no reason other than they told her to, all while under invisibility potions that do nothing because they have full armor and dragons glued to their faces.
Okay.
Oh, there! Push the button, run up and push it! Yeah!
And it works. Which is especially amazing after she spent a whole video being paranoid and dodging every minor threat, even to the point of almost not building her nether tunnel to the Patreon temple, because then no one would need to know it's there and couldn't rig it to kill her.
Guys, I'm so happy with the design. I think it looks sweet. It's pretty simple, but look at that, the effect it gives.
This is all a lot, needless to say, but we leave you today not with this, but a reminder of just how risky any alliance in the game they have made is. While one can't get the Curse of Binding Dragonhead out of the helmet slot without dying, you can still die and not demise, given that a member of the dead team PvP kills you. The PvP deaths from the dead team strictly don't count. But here's the kicker, the rules say no such thing about the living, so PvP deaths within the alive team still do. Now we are hitting the moment where one realistically could take out the rest of the living one after another and be the last man standing. And arguably it'd be a much better way to go than dying to the many redstoners that have already been killed. But that's going to be it for today's recap. Our writer is LoyXP and my name is Pixel Riffs. The only thing to demise in my Minecraft Survival Guide series is all the mobs I'm now blowing up with charged creepers. A link to that will be in the end screen theatre. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next week.